Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Garibaldi Red, a Nottingham Forest podcast. I'm Max Hayes, your host, and as Nottingham Forest lose 4-3 to Newcastle away at St James's Park, an abysmal 12 minutes of football, ultimately costing the Reds yesterday. It was a bit of one of them, wasn't it? However, a much improved second half performance, maybe making it a little bit of a worthwhile journey up those stairs at Newcastle away yesterday. We will discuss that game, plus where on earth the referee for the visual got only 3 minutes added time, and all a bit of that, of course, throughout. We are live on Nottingham Forest News on Facebook and YouTube. Garibaldi Red, joined first of all by Sara Brown, who has just got back from Newcastle a couple of hours ago. Sarah, because you had the pleasure of spending a night there after yesterday's performance. How are you? Safe journey back, because last night it was a bit of one of them for people getting back to Nottingham. You made the right decision to stay over.
Yeah, I thought it was bad. I did see on Twitter that some people had been stuck in traffic. Yeah, it was fine. We had a nice meal. We stayed in the hotel that the players were in the night before, so I did get to see them before the game, but I didn't give them any luck, did I?
No. I was going to say, Sarah, what have you been telling them? I actually stopped over as well. We were in the, I can't remember what it was called now. It wasn't. You must have been in the Hilton.
No, I was in the Malia. Is it opposite the Hilton?
Which is opposite the Hilton.
Where the Gino Di Campo. We stayed there last Boxing Day as well, so we knew the Forest stayed there, but
decent. Yeah, I was kind of waiting for Nuno to come through the door of my hotel, but he never did. Also joined by Dave Astbury, who didn't stop over, but had a long journey back, Dave. And we were just saying before we came on, mate, you have put the bloody mile, as a lot of Forest fans have this week. You've put the miles in, haven't you? Really, recently we've had Newcastle away, Fulham away, Exeter. You've done all those trips, and you had a bit of a shocker yesterday, mate, with that A1 being closed as well.
Yeah. It was a long old trek, but you feel like, and the away support of these places, you know, they're not been sort of great games really for us. You know, bit of a scrape at Exeter and then defeats at Fulham and Newcastle, but the away support has been fantastic, like it always is. People travel, you know, so far for the love of Nottingham Forest, and there's a kind of a feeling of being a veteran now of these long trips, you know. So it was. I got up yesterday morning at 6, got home at 11:45. But judging by what was going on the A1, which held us up, there are more important things. You know, there were people there who were obviously having a worse time than any of us were. You know, so that was the perspective for me, mate.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was pretty horrible that. I got back to Manchester, so it wasn't too bad. But I was, funny enough, shout out to the guy in which services, Wetherby, see? I don't know.
Yeah, Wetherby,
Wetherby services. Stopped there for a Burger King, and some bloke was staring at me, and then he came up and he went, "Are you Max from the podcast house?" And he's very nice. He said some great words about the podcast, and he actually complimented you both as well, saying how much he liked the podcast with you two. So there you go. So I thought, why not? He reminded me to get you two on today. So shout out to him, and he was obviously going back to Nottingham on a bit of a nightmare journey as well. Right, enough about traffic and cars and all of that. Onto the game. Dave, we'll start with you. I mean, it was a good start for Forest, wasn't it, really? Yes, it was a mistake from Jacob Murphy. Callum Hudson-Odoi took, I thought, it really, really well. Lovely finish from him. And we're in that away end quite high up, all in pandemonium, thinking, great, good start, Forest score early. And then it kind of all goes wrong after that, doesn't it?
just when you think you've got it cracked. I mean, I thought Forest started really well, actually, as they had done at Fulham. And, Callum picks up on a bit of dilly-dallying at the back by Newcastle, and he was quite a way out, but he stuck it away beautifully. It was like, passed it into the back of the net. It was a lovely goal. And then, as we alluded to before we came live on the show, Max, the goal seemed to be of greater benefit to Newcastle than it did for us, and it really stung them. And for that 12 minutes, they were kind of, I don't know what somebody put in the Newcastle team, but they were flying at us. And it was a really, really difficult 12 minutes. It game of two halves, really, if you like summing the game up. Although, it could have been 5-1 if the header just after half time goes in instead of hitting the post. But, at 4-1, And there was some fortune about the goals. I mean, Newcastle were right on it, but the goals a little bit. There was some good luck involved in the goals. Lewis Miley, who played very well actually, I thought. His shot goes through Nikola Milenkovic's legs. The second one, there's a bounce which goes basically straight to Jacob Murphy's midriff before he puts it in. That could have gone anywhere. Goes over Matt's. The third, the penalty, debatable, but I think these days those get given. Although I don't think we've seen an intentional handball in the last 40 or 50 years, really. Well, maybe apart from James Ward-Prowse at Chelsea earlier in the season. And then the fourth, Morello does as much as he can against the man who I consider to be by far the best centre forward in this league, and he gets a foot to try and tackle him, and it sends the ball over Matt. So there was some good fortune, but Newcastle earned their good fortune by just being right on it for that period of time. And then it was a case of thinking, blimey, this is going to get messy. It could get really, really difficult. So, at 4-1, you think this could go 5, 6, 7, the way Newcastle were going. So in the end, while it wasn't a happy day for all of us, there were some positives to take in terms of a little bit of character and a little bit of spirit. And so there's a little bit to work with coming out of that game.
Yeah, no, absolutely, I agree. I thought second half was a lot better. I was surprised that Nuno didn't make any changes, but I thought that kind of showed a little bit of trust. Maybe that's more what we think of. He's maybe a message to the fans and to the people watching that he didn't want to make too many changes.
Do you know what, Max? When I was running teams, often you get into a hole like Forest run yesterday, and I've done it before when I've said, "You've got us in this mess. You lot get us out of it." Do you know what I mean? So I could understand what he was doing, and you don't want to chuck babies out with bathwater. So I think that's a really good point, mate. Actually, that trust thing,
Yeah, absolutely. Sarah, when you look back at those 11, 12 minutes, whatever it is, if I didn't have a stopwatch, and I'm not going to go back and time it all, but it really cost Forest the game, and it was almost complete lack of concentration. And it reminded me of the first season when we went up, and it was kind of, you went away to the big boys, if you like, and Newcastle probably are one of those big boys at the minute, and have been certainly for the last few seasons. And you went away to the top 6, top 8, even top 10 in the Premier League, and it was a complete lack of concentration. You could concede 2, 3, 4 in the space of a short time. So it really did cost Forest, didn't it? And it's just interesting what you kind of put it down to, whether it is that lack of concentration, whether, as Dave said, they kind of just got fire in their belly and we couldn't stop them. But it looked like we couldn't even string 2 passes together really in the first half, could we?
No, and I think it was a little bit worrying, wasn't it? Because those 10 minutes, I was thinking, oh my God, this could get really embarrassing. But it did, we seemed to pull it together towards half time. So I don't really know what it was, but somebody was saying to me that I think Milenkovic was falling out with Aina, and Aina seemed he wasn't the only one that was off it, wasn't he? But I
thought the body language of the players looked a bit off, actually. It's a good point. So I watched the highlights last night, and especially when the penalty was conceded, maybe arguably, the footballers, the humans, but the body language from all of them looked a little bit off. But, then again, it probably would if you're 3 goals down away from home.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on. They just didn't start well at all, did they? I mean, even before we scored against the run of play, didn't we? They came out firing, and I will say that they swapped sides early on before we started, because the wind, the side that we were attacking, was horrendous, and every ball was either short or over hit, and I think probably that affected Newcastle's second half a little bit. I'm not saying it all that, but they definitely weren't as on it as they were first half, and that wind down there looked terrible. Yet we walked out the ground and it was a completely different kind of weather system. I don't know. It was freezing in the ground. I don't know what Dave thought, but it was freezing.
Well, I was stood next to Sir Edmund Hillary and Sherpa Tenzing. It felt like we were the top of Everest.
You were higher than me.
It's Himalayan. When you can look down on the down bridge, I mean, the view from there, across the city and then down onto the pitch, I think it's a fantastic away end. But I don't know, it was just...
Not when you're losing 4-1, it's not.
No, it wasn't much fun, no. And there was some irritation around, but that's to be expected. We all love them. And they'd raised expectations a bit by what they've done so brilliantly to this point in the season, you know, and people are now expecting. I mean, I couldn't see the body language. I was that far up. It was like watching like some little black and white ants playing some little blue ants, and I wasn't close enough to be able to judge. Like when I sit in the City grounds, I'm quite close to it. You can get a sense of a psychology of a team. I didn't see any falling out. I saw some disgruntlement that, you know, they weren't getting the look, but then they weren't earning the look. Newcastle earned the look. You know, the better you play, the luckier you get. So I saw some sort of disgruntlement with that. And obviously the penalty, you know, there's so many different views of that. In the end, he gave it. He was going to give it as soon as he was sent.
Do you think it was a penalty, Dave?
In this climate, probably, yeah. But my view is...
But we probably wouldn't have got it.
Not there, no. There is a sense. I heard the phrase uttered yesterday by somebody about unconscious bias. You know, you've got 50 odd, near 48, 49,000 Geordies, and that is a real pressure on one individual. And maybe that got to Jared Gillett. I don't know. I mean, you know, the thing about all this is it's human beings. You know what I mean? So emotions and psychology is so crucial. But yeah, I mean, there's this idea, some are floating this idea that they got to third in the league and now they're complacent. I don't take that for a minute because Nuno wouldn't allow it. I just think, I've always thought Newcastle are a better side than us. That's what I've always thought. Newcastle challenging for Champions League is where they are meant to be.
But we could have won that game if we'd have had a few more extra minutes, I think, towards the end. I thought we looked the better side. You know, most of the second half, we were the better side. That's how I saw it. Second
half, there was only one team in it. We controlled it. And Nuno said at the end, you know, if it had been 10 minutes added on, I think Forest would have got something. Which, from 4-1 down to that juncture, is a hell of a
it does happen, though, in games, doesn't it?
Yeah. It does, yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Both some good
there
points.
There was a little bit of booing as well at half time, but I'd like to think that was at the ref maybe rather than the players.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't hear it from where I was, but that was probably because, in fact, I could have even gone for a wee before half time because I thought I've had enough and I wanted to go for a wee. I think I had a beer actually at half time.
Yeah,
there we go. So I can't lie. So if I'm being totally honest, as someone that hosts a Forest podcast and really should stay for the full first half.
I don't think we were booing at the players, surely not third. No. You know, I'm sure we weren't. I'm sure it was just the whole, probably a bit, you know, unlucky with some of the decisions and lots of free kicks. And again, like David said, I couldn't see if they were free kicks. They seemed a bit soft. He was giving it for everything. We went near. They seemed to throw themselves on the floor a little bit. But again, I was a long way away. I've not watched the highlights yet. I'm going to watch the second half this afternoon. I don't think I could bear the first again.
Yeah,
we're going to watch that tonight. But yeah.
One of those. It'll be quickly forgotten that first half. There was a lot of people in the concourse at half time saying, "Oh, should we go home?"
There was more in the concourse, I think.
Yeah, there was. There probably was. It's a funny one, isn't it? With that handball, just to stay on it quickly, because Dave's right. The players, the human beings.
What's he meant to do?
When you jump in the no, I agree. When you jump in the air, you put your hands up with you. It's one of those. If you asked half of that away and yesterday to jump in the air, half of them would put their hands up, I'm telling you now. So you kind of do it with momentum, really.
I took a class on Saturday morning with my ladies, and we were doing tuck jumps where you bring your knee up, and you need to move your arms to be able to make the jump.
Yeah.
So Ola wasn't thinking, I want to gain an advantage by handling the ball. Ola was thinking, I want to block that cross coming in. He turned away. He was unlucky it didn't go up his jacket. It went off his arm. And then it's almost like, to me, if it brushes your arm, when there's like a guy could be looking over here, not intending to, you know, most of these handballs that are given these days are ridiculous because they're like ball to hand, you know. The Ward-Prowse one at Chelsea, different matter. But yeah, the way it is, they're always going to give it these days. And it's just, unfortunately, it's just part of the territory now.
Yeah, no, absolutely, mate. Few comments. This one from Richie on Facebook. Great start, but the penalty changed the course of the game. For me personally, battled away and won the second half 2-0. Only thing to take into Wednesday versus Arsenal. Chris says, I don't think there was anyone left amongst the Forest fans approaching half-time. They'd all gone to the bar. I've got to say, the highlight as well, Chris. I know we like to talk about the game and stuff, but we make it a bit more interesting on this podcast. The highlight for me was having the chicken and chips. It was like the it was like the what was it? What they called loaded fries. That's it. There we go. You had a bit of chicken. You could get pulled pork on it. It was brilliant. It cost me £8.60. I bought 2 of them for someone I was at the game with, and that was about £16. So yeah, it was a bit expensive, but the food was decent. 4 out of 5 for me for the catering at Newcastle away. Yeah, right. Sorry, it's thrown me off that. Sarah, I mean, Dave mentioned about some people saying that Forest were getting a little complacent, and I did hear it at half time from some people who I was chatting to, in and around the concourse, and I don't think Nuno would let that happen, but maybe there is something in the players that thinks we're third in the Premier League, we can kind of take our foot off the gas, or can you not see that at all? Can you not see a complacent Forest team at the minute?
No, I mean, we've just lost to the 3 teams. We've already lost 2, haven't we? Well, Bournemouth, we drew with them, but they're a good side. We've lost 3 away games. We probably could have done with a home game following up from that Brighton win, I think. At some, we've just been unlucky how they've ran. I wasn't that confident going in yesterday. I don't think they're complacent. I just think, they've done so well. We're kind of expecting them to carry on, aren't we? And we're going to have some blips. I actually feel a bit more confident for the home games, the next 2 games, than I have the away games. I'm sure they're not complacent, and I'm sure what Nuno saw, he didn't make any changes. He never does he, until 60 odd minutes. He stuck to his guns. He obviously thought they could come out of it. And I think when he did make the changes, they had a lot of them had, turned the corner and, had played a lot better. So, it's one of those. I can't imagine any of them are complacent. I mean, they're actually touching Champions League, aren't they, or Europe? So they're going to want it more than ever. It's pressure, though, isn't it? I mean, they haven't had any pressure on them, so now they've got some pressure. People have talking about them. We're actually believing. The fans are expecting, almost, some of us, aren't we? Not expecting, but it's actually becoming real. So it's all expected. Let's hope we can turn it around on Wednesday against Arsenal, and then again in Man City. Tough games. Premier League's tough. It's relentless. We've not got much of a turnaround, but I'll just back them. I mean, I'm just still enjoying it, and I think we're going to get a win out of something we're not expecting.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, great.
No. Good point, Sarah. Dave, when Sarah mentions there actually about being confident going into games that are home games, and we talk about a lot on away form and home form in modern day football, do you worry recently that maybe away from home teams are starting to find Forest out, or is it just a case of it's kind of a coincidence? And again, Forest have had some real tough games, and I don't want to make too many excuses for the 15 minutes, but 12 minutes or whatever it is, but 12 minutes of kind of a lack of concentration, tiredness, bit of fitness concerns thrown in there? Or is it something more to it where, I listened to a bit of a point yesterday from Roy Keane. He was talking about Forest and going for Champions League football. He says, and as Sarah said, it's relentless, this running, they can do it, but he thinks that maybe teams have started to find Forest out away from home.
Yeah, Forest have forced that on them. At the start of the season, yeah, I do. I think Forest have, to this point, had the clearest identity probably of any team in the league. And Forest are the biggest surprise by a mile. Bournemouth are relatively surprised, but Bournemouth were like on a charge in Iraola last year. We were 17th last year. We weren't even meant to be here. 3rd is astonishing. I still say it. But what comes with that, the double edge of the sword is that, blimey, look what Nottingham Forest are doing. Forest have made everybody sit up and take notice this year. They've basically put themselves back on the map. Now, with that comes, so that's the way Forest are playing, are they? So you can bet your bottom dollar that Marco Silva would have examined what Forest have done with a fine, detailed scrutiny. Eddie would have done it with Jason Tindall before yesterday. Arteta will be doing it right now. And Pep down the line will do it. Kieran McKenna will do it on a couple of occasions. So what Forest have done, they've kind of made a rod for their own backs by being so damn good and so damn surprising. I keep thinking, like, I did a poddy at the start of the season. I was like, 15th will do me. And here we are with 3rd. You know what I mean? So, yeah, Forest have basically gone about, the drawback of the brilliant sort of evolution that they've made way quicker than any of us could have imagined, is that they stuck a target on their backs. And people are like, it's a bit like at Exeter. Gary Caldwell said they want other teams to have the ball so they can. Forest are a bit like, you know, these Australian spiders that lie in a funnel and wait for somebody to come by, and then they leap out and they kill them with counter-attack. So Exeter were probably helped by having a man sent off. Let Forest have the ball. And Forest aren't used to having that much possession. And I think, I absolutely do think people are working Forest out, but that's because Forest, by doing what they've done, have forced people to examine what they're doing. It's a kind of, they're victims of their own success in some regards, you know. So it's a kind of a compliment, but it's a drawback at the same time, Matt. So yeah, they definitely, you know, and because it's so unforeseen, people are going to tell me what Nottingham Forest doing in third. They were 17th last year, points deductions, spending all of their time obsessing about Sheffield United, Luton Town, and Burnley. You know what I mean? And we were the ones, for most of the pundits, who were the team who'd survived, who would be in amongst it with Leicester, Southampton, and Ipswich. So, yeah, it's one of those things. But Forest are now, the next part of the evolution is to deal with that and set different traps for teams. You know what I mean? I think the good thing about Wednesday night is the quick turnaround. They can get back on the horse and have a go. And on Wednesday night, they're going to play a team who've got a massive problem of scoring goals. Where's their forward line gone? So I actually think the best thing that can happen for Forest is to have another game quickly. Not too much thinking about Sunday. Get it out of the system and have a crack against Arsenal. And I'll stick my neck out. I think we'll beat Arsenal. I really do.
Yeah, I agree. I think whenever they visit the City ground, they fear us. I think their record at our place isn't brilliant at all.
No.
Sarah, difficult question now, just going off Dave's point about maybe Forest being found out away from home. How do they stop that? And then, you know, you could say, well, Nuno needs to change the way he plays, but that's difficult because we've got an identity. We've created this almost identity with the team, and you want to stick with it. I guess it might just be about almost changing formation, but then we try that and we have disappointing results like we do against Fulham, and then he goes back to the usual four at the back and we have another disappointing result. So it's a difficult question to answer, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I think I'll leave that one for the manager to answer.
I thought, yeah.
Sensible.
I'd like to think that the way that we've been playing really well at it, and I think we probably haven't played as well at it. And these last couple of away games, we're definitely off the mark at Fulham. I mean, in fact, the whole game at Fulham, we weren't even in the game. Where at least with Newcastle, we did fight back. We clawed our way out, and I think the way we finished the game yesterday is how I'd like to see us start the game on Wednesday. And I thought Ryan Yates was great when he came on yesterday. I kind of like at Bournemouth away, I was like thinking, you know, Yates was at fault for that one goal, and I think I did say that. But then when he went off, we conceded another 4. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe we should start with the team that he finished with, but with Morgan, obviously. I mean, some of Morgan's like running with the ball didn't come off. I don't know whether that was a bit of the wind whipping the ball around, or whether it was just off his game a little bit. But surely we're going to see patches like this where we're not winning every game. We can't win every game, can we? We just can't. We're going to see patches where we lose a few. You know, if we win one, lose one, I'd be happy. If we don't win another away game, but we win our home games, I'd be happy. Because realistically, how many more points do we need? But I think Nuno will stick with. I think he'll probably stick with 4.
Yeah,
I don't think they'll go 5 at the back. Not with their missing their strikers.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. Yeah, I think on Wednesday, it's, as Dave said, it's a chance to put the Newcastle game quickly to bed and move on. And you're right. I think that They haven't got much in the final third, Arsenal, so
No
it's going to
Saka,
suit
no
Forest.
Havertz, no Saka, no Havertz. Nwaneri hobbled off the other day. Apparently Rice hobbled off the other day.
Odegaard always look. Odegaard always looks fantastic against us, doesn't he?
But how weak has he looked recently? How sort of physically out of his depth has he looked? Now, yesterday, you talk about Yatesy, Sarah, it's a great point. Like, Yatesy, come on. He's not everybody's cup of tea because everybody wants sexy footballers all the time. Ryan's proper down to earth. He came on, the first thing he did yesterday was eat Bruno Guimaraes, a bit like he did against Alexis McAllister when we won at Liverpool.
Yeah.
And if he's on the pitch on the day after tomorrow, and Martin Odegaard is standing around admiring everything, Ryan Yates will let him know he's in Nottingham. Right? I mean, at the Emirates, Martin Odegaard gave a masterclass, I thought, but recently Martin Odegaard has looked quite a flimsy little guy in midfield. Right. And you hear their fan base, they're at war. Half of them want Arteta in, the other half want Arteta out. They've got nobody who's going to put the ball in the back of the net for them. The Mikel Merino experiment lasted all of 10 minutes. So, Arsenal have got a hell of a lot of problems.
Against Leicester.
Yeah, against Leicester. And the thing is, Leicester, I watched them Friday night. They're one of the worst football teams the Premier League's ever. I think that at the top and bottom, everything's sorted. Liverpool are champions. The bottom three have gone. The Wolves' victory at Bournemouth has sent Southampton have gone before they even started, basically. Leicester were pathetic on Friday night. And Ipswich, brave though they are, just haven't got the quality. So, I mean, and that's another thing. We're all sitting here, we're upset about the result. How did Bournemouth feel? How did Fulham feel? How did Chelsea feel? How did City feel? How do Arsenal feel? So it was one of them weird weekends where teams up the top end, with the exception of Liverpool, but that's why they're going to be champions, didn't have it all their own way. I mean, West Ham were excellent. Palace were really good. Brentford were fantastic at Leicester. So, it's just one of them weird weeks. I think the greatest sadness of yesterday is that the results going our way on Saturday, we didn't take full advantage. That, I think, is what hurt yesterday.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We didn't.
I think it's Newcastle and Aston Villa, isn't it? Newcastle and Aston Villa that we've got to be wary of, and Bournemouth. But
and Brighton are back. Brighton are coming back as well after losing. Brighton were like the biggest crisis on earth like 3 weeks ago, and now Brighton are brilliant, and that's football. You know what I mean? It's bonkers.
It is bonkers. Talking of bonkers things, 3 minutes added on yesterday. Don't understand it at all. Going to read this one out, if you give me a second while I just get it up, which was interesting. So second half injury time this season for Forest. I'll go through a few of them. Can you remember the Wolves game when it was 1-1? There was 11 minutes added on there. The Bournemouth game when it was 1-1, there was 6. When we lost to Fulham at home, it was 9 minutes. When we beat Palace, it was 6 minutes. When we beat West Ham, it was 11 minutes added on. Ipswich, 8 minutes added on. Newcastle, 8 minutes. You get the point here. Villa, 10 minutes added on. I mean, Southampton, when it was 3-2, was 13 minutes added on. Liverpool, 7. And Brighton was 10. At St James's Park, though, yesterday, 4-3. 3 minutes. 3 minutes added on. And I thought after the World Cup in Qatar, they made a big point about adding time on and, clamping down on time, wasting stoppage. There was a stat from Optographics, who are quite good in football. They think there should have been 6 minutes added on yesterday. So Forest got half that time, which is ridiculous. And there's a video of Nuno, people sharing about, he didn't shake Eddie Howe's hand. Well, I don't think Nuno did that deliberately. He was quite fuming yesterday, and he went over to have a chat with the referee and the match officials about simply why there wasn't more time added on. Sarah, can you get your head around that? Like 3 minutes? Where does 3 minutes come from?
No, because there were 7 at half time.
Yeah.
So I didn't understand because we made don't know how many subs we made. I know we bought some on all at once, but they normally give you 30 seconds, don't they, for each sub. They brought some on. They were sat down. Gordon was sat down for ages. I didn't think there was anything wrong with him, but then he was nearly getting treatment. They were wasting time. The ball was out of play. But there was a stat last year, I think, with Newcastle that they were the worst team for ball in play. I think it was something like 50 odd minutes last year, and that or the year before it was one of them. But it was Newcastle know how to not play football if you not have the ball in play. But exactly 3 minutes, everyone around us, we just could not. We said at least 5, and we kind of thought it might be 7, but I couldn't believe it. 3 minutes. It was almost like he needed to get back home because he'd already given us 7. So at half time, I'd rather had 3 at half time and 7 full time the way we were playing. And I think if we'd have had another minute or 2, we would have probably drawn that game. I felt like we'd won that game when I walked out the ground, because I thought we were going to absolutely it could be double figures the way we were playing. So we walked out that ground. I thought, well, the goal difference is only 1. Yeah, we've not got 3 points. Disappointing day, but hell, God, it could have been a lot worse, couldn't it?
Yeah. And ultimately, Forest won 2-0 in that second half. If you break it down, you'd be really positive there. Forest have won 2-0. Still disappointing, but you're right. There was lots of positives. I agree, Sarah. Walked out the ground yesterday thinking, actually, it ain't that bad. Look at the bigger picture of where we are and what we've achieved already this season. A few comments. Mark says, I think we need 2 players in midfield that can manage and slow the game down in times like the first half at Newcastle. Panic sets in, maybe a little inexperience in their quality players, but sometimes is also needed. This one from John that says, Newcastle were not that good, 4 goals, but can't remember Sal's really making any saves. Both teams defending not great. Also, to be honest, the ref gave us nothing in 3 minutes of added time. Should have been more. Yeah, totally agree. Definitely should have been more, John. Dave, I mean, we've quickly put the 3 minutes thing to bed, move on. We get sick of talking about referees and controversies surrounding Forest, but it does seem to happen a lot. There's people arguing about the Murillo shirt pull as well, whether that should have been a penalty, all of that. But in terms of Wednesday night, you mentioned about Forest quickly putting it to bed. It will be a difficult game, but the players now have got to really look at Arsenal, and I don't mean this in a must-win because it's a 6-pointer and it'll be a disaster if we don't win, but in terms of going and getting getting the fire back at the City ground and getting the fire back amongst the fans, I think a good performance and 3 points would massively help on Wednesday night.
Yeah, it would, mate. Yeah. It's the thing is, Nuno goes 1 game at a time all the time. That has been the secret of the success that we've had this season relative to what's gone in the seasons before. So he'll be, all that matters to him and the lads is Arsenal on Wednesday night. And I think it is really good that they haven't got a week. Yeah, or say, actually, 8 days to stew. If there'd been no Arsenal game, it would have been 8 days from yesterday to Ipswich in the Cup. So I think it's really good they can get back on it. And I think they'll be hurting from yesterday and from Fulham, and the thought that, hey ho, is this the levelling off that we thought might come? I've always thought there'd be a levelling off. I always thought we're going to get a bad run at some point in the season, because that's the very nature of football. You know what I mean? Good runs come to an end, but this slightly not so good run, that can come to an end. And Wednesday night is going to be really good. There's a lot of them. I thought yesterday some of them were just not on it. I don't think Ola was on it. Ola's been amazing this year, but he wasn't on it yesterday. Milenkovic, who's been Colossus, he picked a booking up and then had to play around that. I thought Morgan tries so damn hard every week, but sometimes with Morgan, he tries exactly the same every week and you get different results. One week, Morgan's running everything and everybody's admiring him. And the next week, he's tried exactly the same as he did last week and it just doesn't happen for him. He's trying flicks and tricks and all this kind of stuff. And sometimes they come off and we all go, wow, Morgan. And then other days it doesn't come off. And that's life. You know what I mean? I thought the one player yesterday for us, I thought he was absolutely, in a way, and it was proved when he came off because he got applause from all 4 corners of the stadium. I thought Elliot Anderson was terrific yesterday.
Yeah, I agree.
He battled his heart out, that lad. The little Jordi Maradona, he's a grand player. He nicks the ball off people's feet. He obviously had a point to prove going back there. And I thought it was an uplifting moment for Elliot because I thought he was our best player by quite a considerable margin. I thought Murillo was all right. The rest I thought were pretty anonymous, to be honest with you. But I thought Elliot really ran around and battled hard. It was kind of like, yeah, I'll show you lot. And it was really nice when he went off and he was substituted that, it wasn't just us that were applauding him. It was the Newcastle cognoscenti as well. I do. As regards Wednesday night, I think Yatesy starts. Ryan's earned his place. He came on. He put himself about. He gave us more presence on the field. He scored a goal.
He's the type of player you want against a side like Arsenal as well, Dave, to kind of get in there, wind them up a bit, break up the play. It's just Yatesy all over.
Yeah, go and be an irritation to Declan Rice. If Declan's fit Wednesday night, go and annoy him, man. I just think at the moment, and we might have talked about this on a previous podcast, it's that midfield number 6 role. We've got Ibra, we've got Nico Dominguez, we've got Yatesy, and it's like you wish you could like put them all together in one body. You'd have a hell of a player. You know what I mean? So we'll see what goes on. But I fancy us Wednesday night. I fancy us because we lost 2 on the bounce now.
Yeah,
that's why I fancy us. If we were winning, I always teams that are on a really good run, I always fancy them to get beat. And teams that have been beat, I fancy them to kind of turn it around.
Yeah, it's a good point.
You know, like I say, personally speaking, I think we'll beat Arsenal Wednesday night. I think we'll make the quarterfinal by beating Ipswich. City, we don't know about that because City is still a quality side, you know. But
we shall see.
We shall see.
Yeah, Sarah, give us a prediction for Wednesday night. Come on.
I think I've gone 2-1 Forest.
We'll take that. Absolutely. I'll go similar.
1-0. But yeah, 2-1.
I think it'll be tight. I don't think Arsenal will score many either. We will, of course, review that game this week. It messes us up slightly with it being a midweek game, but we'll be back on Thursday to do something around that, or if I get back in time after the game and I'm just not going to go to sleep, so I might just speak to Mark or Dave, American Mark or Aussie Dave, and we'll talk to them through the time difference and we'll do a bit of a post-match review. We shall see what happens against Arsenal. It will be an interesting game, and fingers crossed that Forest can bounce back. We ended the last podcast with us 3 on talking about Waitrose and what we were having for tea, so I think it's only suitable that we do the same thing. What's for tea, Sarah?
I've got monkfish kebabs with some veg and rice.
Very nice. David, what about you?
Steamed veg, lots of spinach, and a katsu salmon and cod fish cake or 2.
And what's Dave's score prediction?
Oh yeah, sorry Dave. What's your score prediction?
I agree, Max. It's going to be tight because it's 2 really good defences. You know, let's be honest. Saliba, Gabriel, White, they're brilliant at the back. So Arsenal will be hard to break down. But I think we'll win 1-0 because I think Arsenal's. At the weekend, where did Arsenal never look like scoring against West Ham? So Arsenal need to find some way of hurting that back 4. And that back 4 will be so irritated about that 12 minutes. I just fancy us. I'll probably get clipped up. I just fancy us on Wednesday night. It wouldn't be great for all of us to beat Arsenal and then bring even more pressure on Arteta. At least our manager's not under any pressure. Arteta is right under pressure. So I just got a funny feeling for us to win on Wednesday night. 1-0.
Fingers crossed. What am I having for tea tonight? I don't know. Ready meal in the freezer, probably. Can't be bothered to cook. Student, typical student. I was just thinking, I can't even. I've done quite a bit today. I had quit. That was why we were slightly late for the podcast as well. I was running and got back and thought, right, I need to make myself look presentable to do the podcast. And
that meal you had at Newcastle yesterday is probably the best one you've had in the last 3 years, isn't it?
Pot noodles, mate. That's
made me hungry.
Honestly, it's good for proper nice chips. Honestly, salt and pepper fries or whatever.
Do you know what, Max? I didn't have it, but I noticed a lot of people around me having it, and it looked
smelled good, didn't it?
Quite nice, actually. Yeah.
We need that at Forest. Try and if anyone from Forest is listening, pass that on to the catering team, and we'll have that in the main stand when it's all done. So you never know. I might go and make the trip back up to St James's tonight. Be knocking on the door for some chips for me tea.
We've got Eva's Grill. That's what we've got.
Absolutely. Love Eva's Grill.
Eva's Grill is.
Yeah, no, and I always forget the guy's name. The guy who owns it's brilliant. He watches the podcast a lot. So a big shout out to Eva's Grill. There we go.
You might get a free kebab now, Dave.
I know, we might get a free kebab. I'm there early actually on Wednesday for some bits and pieces, so I might pop him to Eva's Grill and have a kebab.
Well, me and Pat Lally are going in there if you want to join us, mate.
All right, mate. I'll have to maybe take you up on that offer.
Let's hope
but it
he's letting some
depends.
fireworks off at the end.
Yes,
Yeah.
fireworks. Yes,
It
please.
still frightens me every time I go past. I'm like, oh, I wasn't expecting it. You know, when it's light and they're going off, I'm like, what?
It's permanently November at Eva's Grill, isn't it?
Yeah.
We should live stream. We should do a live podcast with some fireworks outside Eva's Grill.
Yeah.
Although I don't think the health and safety of the podcast team had approved that. Right, before we start talking about more local businesses in Nottingham, we will see you back on Thursday for the review of Arsenal. Dave, Sarah, thanks as always. Appreciate it. Enjoy your kebab, Sarah. Dave, I don't know what you were having to get fish cakes. Enjoy your fish cakes, and I'll enjoy my pot noodle. Give us a like, share, and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us across Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We shall see you very soon. Fingers crossed that we get a result on Wednesday night. It's a big one. Under the lights. Come on, you Reds.